in Patrick's Point State Park up here at the Sumeg village. I am native from this area, so I'm Hoopa and Yurok. And so on my Hoopa side, I'm from the villages of Medilden and Sewinalden. And on my Yurok side, I'm from the village of Chapek and Espel, and then I'm a direct descendant of this place, Sumeg. And so my grandpa, Walt, he's done a lot of work here at Sumeg, where we are at today. And he was one of the master builders of this village. So all of these structures he worked on and was able to teach everybody how to work on them, how to take care of them, and he still is teaching them how to maintain them. And so that's kind of what's going on in the back today. There's some maintenance going on, but I want to start by talking about this structure right here, which is our sweat house, and it's a man's sweat house. And so this is where the men would stay. This is where they teach the young men who are growing up in the village or in the area or in the community. And so it's kind of like a school. So anything that we want our young men to know or learn is taught in this building. And so this is where the men are, and it's a dry sweat house. So when they have a sweat, it's a dry sweat with just the fire, and it has ventilation through the side so the smoke comes out. You can see the door goes down into the sweat house. And so inside there's kind of like a pit where everyone sits, sleeps, all of that. And this sweat house has 2 doors. And so both doors go towards the water, flowing water. So this sweat house, the doors go towards the ocean. And the ocean is not that far from here. It's about a 10-minute walk from where I am right now. And you can see the rock porch that it has. And it has a rock porch for 2 reasons. One reason is to keep the hot air in. And the other reason is so after your sweat, you can come out and lay on the rocks and cool off or sit and kind of think about things. And so when men go in sweat, it's a time for them to reflect on things, to kind of think about everything that's going on. And for women, we have a different kind of sweat. It's not a sweat, it's a steam. And so we get a lot of medicine, a lot of herbs, and a lot of different leaves that we use. And we use water and hot rocks that come out of the fire. And so that is put into a watertight basket and it creates steam. And so that's for a woman. And it's kind of like a spa or a sauna. And it's to cleanse the body and the mind and the soul. And so those are the 2 kinds of sweats that we have, the dry sweat and then a steam for women. And for women, when we do our steams, a lot of it is more during a flower dance, which is a coming of age ceremony for a young girl becoming a woman. And that's a big time for her to reflect and see who she is. So that's why we do a steam during that time. You can see on top of this sweat house, there's a redwood canoe. And this redwood canoe was in Trinidad for a lot of years, and it was busted. A tree fell on it and it broke. And so when it broke, we always give it a new purpose and we put it on top of this sweat house. And so this sweat house was built about 30 years ago, and so was the rest of this village. And the village of Sumeg is in this state park, in Patrick's Point State Park, but we don't open it up to public because there are things like burial sites and things like that in that area. And so this is a place that we use today. We're always here. We have our ceremonies here, and we like to teach others about this place, which is what I do here. That's why I work here, so we can teach everybody our way of life. So we're going to walk over to the dance house. You can see on the side of the sweat house what it looks like. And so The roof is right on the ground. So where we're walking to now is our dance pit. And if you're ever up at Sumeg and you come to see this beautiful place, we do ask that you be respectful and not go inside of the dance pit and not, because that does happen. And so you can see this all along here. That's our dance pit. This is where we have our ceremonies. It's where we do a lot of, it's where we have our medicine people stay during our dances. We have one dance called the brush dance, which is the healing of a sick child or an elder. And during that time, we have our child, the mother, and the medicine people, the people who help heal this child, stay here. This is where they sleep. This is where everything happens. And during a coming of age ceremony, a flower dance, like I mentioned earlier, this is also where the girl, the medicine person, and her grandmother stay. And so this is actually just a deconstructed house. So I'll walk over to the house in a few minutes and show you what it looks like when the walls are up and the roof is on it. And so when we have our ceremony, traditionally we would just take the roof off of our house and we would invite the people to come and dance with us. And so we keep the roof off of this house because we use it so often. We use it at least once a year, if not up to 5 times a year, we can use this place. And so it's just easier to have the roof off of it. And so we can just come and use it when we need to. It's also great for learning purposes, for programs like this program, to talk about it and to kind of share what we know about it. You can see all around there are these boards that all the way around the house. And those boards are all the walls and the roof of the house. And so this house has body parts, just like all of our other houses. So we use redwood trees when we build our houses and our canoes. And we use them because Yurok people believe that the redwood tree is the heart of our people. And so whenever a redwood tree falls, we give it a new life. We bring it and use it for our houses, for our canoes. And for us, Yurok people, we call ourselves Oth, and our houses are Othwayat, and our canoes are Othwayach. And so we're all interconnected. We all have a heart. We all have body parts like kidneys and a liver and all of that. And so the heart can go where the person who is building the house wants it to. My grandpa always puts the heart on the inside of the door. And so that's where the heart is in this house. There are these posts on the side. There are 4 of them on each corner, and that's the rib cage. And the rib cage holds us together. So just like in our bodies, we have a rib cage and that holds all of our body parts in place and it holds us together. Same with this house. It has a rib cage to hold the roof on, to hold everything together. And so you can kind of see the top along there. That's the roof, and we'll get a better look at it when it's all put together and I move on to the next house. One thing that I do like to mention that is different with this house is there is a ramp instead of steps. So in our other houses, there are steps and kind of stairs, but in this house, there's a ramp. And we have a ramp here so that everybody who wants to join us in our dances and in ceremony has the opportunity to come and dance, whether they need to use a cane when they walk, or if they need to walk a little slower and can't make it up and down these steps. And so that's why this one has a ramp rather than stairs. And in the house, we'll see there are stairs instead of a ramp. So we are going to slowly make our way over there. and we'll walk around the house and you can get a good view of what our house looks like here. Normally it's just brown dirt in the houses and it's not all green and overgrown. We usually come in and clean this house every year before we have our ceremonies, but this year, because of COVID, we were unable to come and clean the house and do all of that. We weren't allowed to come into this area to do that. And so normally it's brown and very clean looking. You can see the house that we're coming up on. So this is our living house, and it's one of 3 living houses that we have here. Sorry. You can see the door is round instead of a square door like we have now. And there are these lines on top of it. So the reason it has these lines is so when it rains, the water comes down the side of the wood and it hits this and it kind of goes off to the side so that the rain isn't getting inside of the house. And so this is a living house, and the living house is where the family stays. And so just like the men stay in the sweat house, the women and the elders and the kids all stay in this house. And so this house is one of our bigger houses. And in our houses, there can be more than just one family. So if I were living in this house, it wouldn't just be me and my mom and my brother and sister. It would be me, my mom, her sister, my first cousins, and my siblings. And so we all live together and we're very close. And in Yurok, there's actually no word for a first cousin because those are your brothers and sisters. That's who you grow up with. And so this is what our houses look like when the walls are up and the roof is on. So we just saw our dance pit, which does not have the walls and the roof, but this is what it looks like when it does have that. And they are redwood planks and they are tied with hazel sticks. And so you can kind of see on some of this, there are the hazel stick ties, and it's kind of like a rope. And so you can kind of see right there, there is some nylon rope on this house, which is what is being worked on today. Like I mentioned earlier, they are working on changing out all of the nylon rope and putting in just hazel ties. So when we use hazel, hazel grows towards the sunlight. And so if we're in a forest or an area where there's a lot of trees, hazel will grow and reach for the sunlight. So every time it's sunny, the hazel wants that sunlight. And so it reaches out towards it. And so that's how we get these really long hazel sticks that are long enough for us to use and wrap around these multiple times. And when we use them, one of our biggest tools that we use is fire. So we use fire to kind of roast the hazel sticks and then we twist them. And when we twist them, it creates kind of like a rope. And that's how it's all held together. You can see there is also a rock porch on this, just like on the sweat house. There is a rock porch. This rock porch you can't see as well. Grass is kind of grown over it, but it is there. And the rocks are like our porch. So now at my house, I have a wooden porch with 3 steps, and that's It's covered, and that's where I sit with my grandma or my family members. But traditionally, we had these rock porches, which you can kind of see how big the rocks are. And these rocks are brought from the ocean or the creek beds. And this is where we would be a lot of the time, is on a rock porch. It's where we sit and weave baskets. It's where we teach our kids things. It's where we spend a lot of our time. And so a lot of times you would see people cracking acorns or getting food ready or drying bear grass, which is one of our basket materials that we use when we weave baskets. And there wouldn't be all of this green sticker bushes along the bottom, but we have not gotten to get them off of there yet. So this is our living house. And I can kind of poke the camera in, see what the inside looks like. And so you can see that there is a pit inside of there, and that's just like the one that we saw a few minutes ago. And along the sides, there's all of this area where nothing is at. And that's kind of like a storage area. So just like we have a garage or a storage unit or an attic where we keep things or a basement, that's kind of where everything would go. It's where everything sits and everything is put away. That's kind of like storage area. And so you can see there's this house and another smaller house to the side. And there is one more house that is being worked on. So we are not going to go over there just out of respect for the people working on it. And so now we are going to make our way over to our dress houses, which is where we keep our regalia. And so for those of you who don't know what regalia is, it's very special to us, to Indigenous people. It's what we wear during ceremony. And it's, for us, our regalia, just like our house has their own life, our regalia has its own life as well. And so when we go to a brush dance or a flower dance, and we have our regalia and we dance through the night, we like to rest and recharge and get ready for the next round or the next day. And so for our regalia, we have that ready. We have this next building ready for our regalia to rest and to recharge. And all of the pieces that we use on our regalia are things that have their own life too. And so when they make a sound, when they make noise, they're singing their own song. And so we're always very respectful of that song that our regalia is singing. And so that's another reason why we let the regalia kind of have its own space and place to rest. And so this house, don't know if the sun is affecting the light, but it's a lot smaller than the living house that we had just looked at. But it's the same kind of shape, and it kind of goes down into a pit as well. And this is what it looks like. And so here there are 3 different dress houses, and there is one that is used by the head camp, the camp that puts on the dance and that invites all the people to come and dance, and that's the Yurok camp. And so this is their dress house. There is another one here, which is over that way a little bit. I'm not sure if the lighting, if you can see it, but that one is reserved for the Hoopa camp, who comes and dances and supports the Yurok camp that puts on this dance. And so there are those 2 camps. And then there's another dress house, which is used by the Karuk people or the Wiyot people, who also come and dance with us during our ceremonies. that time. So when we dance all night, and we take turns with the other camps that come and are involved with us and help us. And so when we're doing that, we're asking for them to come and pray with us, to come and help us with that, and to come support us. And so we have houses for their regalia to go to. And so if there are any questions, now would be a really great time to ask them, or
Brandon should be able to field them for you if there is questions coming in. You could also go show the maintenance if you want. And if none of the above, you can just end.
So I don't know if there are questions or how to check.
Okay, so Brandon, is Q&A enabled, or is there no Q&A? I don't know if we still have Brandon with us. And I am not seeing a Q&A feature. I see polls, but no Q&A. So maybe we do not have a way to field questions.
Okay.
That's a bummer. You could X on that, I think, if you wanted to go back away. Cool. Sorry.
Okay. So since we can't ask questions, we can just kind of continue around the parks and we'll go check out the maintenance, because that's a really cool thing to see. And a small child just fell into the water, so I don't know if that was caught on the video or not, but there are people here. So parks are open if anybody is up this way and would like to come check out the Sumeg village. They are open and they are here for you to come learn about. And so this is our other house. And these are our hazel sticks that we use to tie the house.
Like one of those like knuckle parts that has doesn't
So that's kind of it for our tour here today. Thank you all for joining and logging in, and we appreciate everybody respecting our COVID guidelines and everything that's going on. So that's it for this program. And we do have Facebook Lives every other day at 3 o'clock. So you can check those out. Today at 3 o'clock, we do have a Facebook Live. So if you want to check that out, we will be there.